I'm pretty sure the last time I did my makeup, I did probably something very similar, if not exactly this. In my defense, I'm recovering from COVID and I've just moved, so my creativity is just not all there. Hey guys, and welcome back to Beauty in the Bookcase, where we take a book and we make a look. Now, before we get started, make sure you follow me here, here, and right over here to keep up with everything I do when I'm not on YouTube. So today we are going to talk about a book called The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared. And while this book title might sound like a Fall Out Boy song, it's definitely something else. So this book was written by a Swedish writer by the name of Jonas Jonasson. He was originally a journalist, but he has since started writing fiction, mostly centered around the theme of just chance and its role in our lives, and that's definitely a big theme in today's novel. Funny, random, and absolutely charming, The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window is the story of a man by the name of Alan Karlsson. So the story starts off in a nursing home where Alan currently lives after he blew up his actual home one too many times. So during this day, Alan kind of just realizes that he just cannot spend another day inside of the nursing home, and he especially can't be spending the monumental occasion of his 100th birthday in a place where, well, nobody likes him and they don't really, let him live his life the way he wants to. So naturally, he decides that the best course of action is to climb out of the window and disappear. Problem is that Alan doesn't exactly live his life. His life just kind of happens. So it all starts when he goes to a bus station and he decides that he's just going to give the person running the next bus all the money he has and be like, just take me up to, as far as this will get me. Now, while he's waiting for the bus, this guy comes up to him. He's kind of in a hurry. He really needs to go to the bathroom. And so he's like, okay, I'm leaving my stuff with you. Like, you have to watch this. And Alan's like, I mean, whatever. You didn't really give me a choice before you ran off. So he's looking over this giant suitcase. But then his bus arrives and he's like, well, I can't miss my bus. Therefore, I'm just going to take it with me, because I guess that's the rational decision when somebody leaves their things with you. Theft. So then Alan gets on the bus with this giant suitcase, which is not a good idea. Why? Because it turns out that the guy who left the suitcase was actually a drug dealer. And so what was inside the suitcase now was a ridiculous amount of money that he'd gotten from a drug deal. So Alan doesn't really know this because he never even bothered to look into the suitcase. He just kind of goes on his merry way, and he gets off at this stop in a very, very small town where, like, it's barely even a stop at this point. The only, it wasn't like a big place, and it was kind of hard for him to orient himself. So he's taken in by the owner of like this little house right where the station is, and that's where he finds out that he actually has a whole bunch of money. So while we're learning about, Alan's current adventures, the book also goes to the past and tells us a little bit about the type of life Alan has led, and his life has been insane. So while everyone is freaking out trying to find Alan because he stole the suitcase full of drug money, we also get to know a little bit more about the kind of life he lived before he turned 100, which turns out to be absurd. But that's the point. I mean, think of any major historical event or any major political figure, and Alan Karlsson has either met them or been around them or influenced the outcome of something that happened. I mean, I have seen some criticism of the book about how it's so far-fetched, but that's the point. I don't think this book is expecting anyone to read about Carl and be like, yeah, that's super relatable. Instead, it's supposed to be this idea of just the absurd just existing in our world, and somebody genuinely having zero control over how, like, the things that happen. You know, he's more so just reacting to everything. Now, if there's one thing that defines Alan Karlsson, it is his sheer optimism. I mean, we are used to seeing old people in movies and books represented in really boring ways. I mean, they're all just kind of world weary and crotchety and angry, right? I mean, when you think of a lead character, at least a major character who's older, they're always quite cranky. I mean, think of Carl from Up, or Mr. Nevercracker from Monster House, or even Scrooge from The Christmas Carol, right? If there's one running theme in like any type of media where we have an older person, it's that they're all just so mad. But Alan is actually quite the optimist, and while I wouldn't say he's, you know, exactly super chipper, he's definitely way less high-strung than a lot of the characters we have seen throughout our lives. Like, legitimately, this dude has the weirdest life, and yet he never comes off as angry or upset or even frustrated. He just kind of rolls with the punches. I mean, instead of settling into his life as a retiree, Alan is still up for some fun. He's just trying to still make the most of his life. Honestly, Alan acts way more like a reckless teenage lead than he does like a 100-year-old man. He just kind of makes decisions on the fly without really thinking too much about consequences or really anything. However, if there's one thing that complete reckless abandon often leads to when it comes to stories, is a lot of drama, right? Like, a lot of it is just teenage angst. However, because of Alan's optimism, a lot of that really just goes out the window for the simple fact that he just doesn't care. He's incredibly uninterested in politics and current affairs, so sure, you know, wars might be exploding around him, but he doesn't care. He's just wanting to have fun. Now, perhaps Alan's optimism just comes from the fact that he lives in a world where he has zero control over what happens. And I don't mean that in like a, oh, he's a character in a book, so of course he's not in charge of making any decision. That's the whole point of the author. No. What I mean is that literally life just happens to him. Alan doesn't really end up in situations because of choices he's made. He more so makes his choices because of the situations he's in. To be completely honest with you, it seems that the only thing that Alan cares about is blowing stuff up. And I mean that literally. Like, his family used to make fireworks or something, and so he's always been into explosives, and it's really the only thing he seems to have a major interest in. However, despite his entire and a very obvious dislike of politics, life just keeps throwing him into the thick of major events. I mean, this man met General Francisco Franco from Spain. He met Harry Truman, and he met Albert Einstein's made-up brother, who is not an Einstein, I'll tell you that much. I mean, Alan ends up working for the CIA, for crying out loud. The CIA. But the thing is, none of these decisions that he makes are based off of any desire to, you know, advance in life or have power or money. Alan just kind of says yes to stuff for the sake of the adventure of it all. And to be completely honest with you, I wish I was as detached from life as Alan sometimes is. That being said, well, Alan doesn't really seem to care at all about, you know, the major events around him and kind of the state of humanity. He is very loyal to his friends. I mean, from his relationship with Einstein's fake brother to his relationship with his foe turned friend, because he ends up befriending the guy whose suitcase he stole, to his relationship with really everyone that ends up falling into his crew. Alan genuinely cares about these people. He doesn't see them as temporary to his adventures, and even the friends he doesn't get to keep because, of political reasons, he still values them and even laments that they won't really get to be friends because of it. I mean, Alan just seems like the type of person who just makes friends everywhere he goes, and even when he is making enemies, he usually manages to talk himself out of the situation some way, unless he's blowing stuff up. And what's even better is that his friends are just as committed to him as he is to them. I mean, from covering up murder for him to moving to Indonesia, it's safe to say Alan's crew, they're thick as thieves. What's it all about? At its core, the 100-year-old man who climbed out the window and disappeared is a story about optimism, chance, and friendship. While we often think of the elderly as embittered with loneliness or disillusioned with life or even just enraged by modernity, Alan is just this vivacious centenarian who manages to evade even the sharpest of minds while just rolling with the punches, cherishing the people who cross his path. Now, before I go, for those of you who care, I did say in my last video, I think, that I wanted to give like monthly updates on process of my book just to keep myself accountable, I guess. So just a little update on that. I'm struggling. Dialogue is not my forte, so I'm currently trying to find a way to make these characters sound real. I really don't want to fall into stereotypes or just kind of end up with something really generic. So I've been doing a lot of research both into Celtic mythology because I want to be accurate, and then into the 1970s punk culture in England. My current plan is to sit down and listen to a ridiculous amount of interviews with the Sex Pistols and the Ramones and the Clash and stuff like that, and kind of pick up how they talk, to kind of try and emulate that in my characters, as well as continuing to do a lot of reading. I'm very particular about, accuracy, so I'm definitely going to be working on that, but hopefully next month I'll have something a little bit more concrete to talk to you about. I know I did kind of decide, I was kind of messing around with the setting because it's very vague right now. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to base a lot more of the other world where the fairies are from on Ireland, since a lot of it's going to be based on Celtic mythology. And then I'm going to focus then the human world, kind of focus that more on like a smaller town vibe of 1970s England. I definitely don't want to do London just because I feel like it wouldn't, I don't know, the way I have it set up, like the idea of these fairies living in the forest and stuff, it would feel very odd to set that in such a major city. But yeah, that's currently the plan. Anyway, what did you guys think about this book? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure you leave a like if you liked this video and that you subscribe for more videos like these. And lastly, hit that notification bell so you know exactly when I upload. I just made a schedule for the next few months, so hopefully I will actually stick to it. I think next week we will be doing more of that tier list with the opening lines. So I will see you guys there and have a great day.